Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Claudia Thompson. I'm the Director of Regional Development for the eastern part of the United States for BNI. And we have another month of BNI talks. This has really been, a lot of you have been saying these have been helpful for you, using these, some of the advice you've been getting, bringing it back to your chapters, back to your businesses. And this is no different as we are pulling into leadership team training. I know that we've had Gina Harold on here recently talking about the leadership roles and why. We have an amazing guest. I'm excited. I'll tell you all in just a moment. But we have a really good conversation talking about our core values, but also how to incorporate them through diversity. So this is really, really important. I think this is critical, again, as we're selecting leadership and moving into a new term. This is really a great conversation. And so who else would I bring but Anna Rivers? She has been on here before. She's just one of my favorite people. She is the area director for BNI Oregon and Southwest Washington. And she's got back from many places, such as Romania, and Italy. And she was, of course, engaged in BNI activities over there, going to the conferences. And I'll let her share really quick the main reason why she was over there and why she probably will never leave BNI. So, Anna, thank you so much for being here. And I would love for you to share the best referral you ever got from BNI.
Yeah, I'll share very quickly because I don't want to spoil the fun for my feature presentation at my BNI meeting next month. But I went to Europe to meet my birth family. So I was adopted when I was a baby. And last year, my husband and I decided that this year we were going to go back to Europe with the intention of meeting my birth family. So, of course, being part of BNI, we're a global organization. I thought, why not ask for the referral? So I was connected to the national director of Romania and I asked her, do you have any members that could help me with this? And she introduced me specifically to these Facebook groups that help Romanian children who were adopted during that time reconnect with their birth family. And in a 2 day time period of when I posted my information and when we found my birth family, it was literally 2 days. So it was because of a BNI referral from the national director in Romania that I found my birth family.
Wow. Wow. I thought I had some good BNI stories, and I've heard some, and I have, but nothing for me really types that. So, so happy. I love to see the pictures and everything. And again, we're not going to spoil it for your chapter feature presentation next month. But Anna, I mean, that is really just blows me away. And so if that does not speak to the power of BNI, I don't know what else does. You're monsters. So anyway, all right. So Anna, why I'm excited to talk about this with you in particular, I feel like you are walking core values. If I were to pick somebody who really encompasses core values, it would be hands down you, right? And especially that one that we have trouble with so much is the accountability. So we're going to go through some of these and talk about this. We're going to have a discussion as we usually do. And I think that this is important inside of incorporating diversity. And we haven't really gone there for a while about how specific, maybe we've asked a question or two, but this I think is critical as we're moving into selecting specifically vice presidents and membership committees.
Mhm.
So, um, and you and I have had a lot of conversations about different people and members and situations. So, first of all, how do our core values support an inclusive and diverse culture?
Yeah, so number one, this really speaks to presidents, in my opinion. And again, we are in leadership team transition, and who you put in that role matters for the success of the entire chapter. The core values are woven into the BNI agenda, into every aspect of it. We see traditions plus innovation, building relationships, lifelong learning in our education moments, right? And so when some of those pieces are skipped or the president doesn't utilize certain aspects of the official BNI agenda, then you're actually omitting some of the core values because they are woven into every single aspect. And so when you're thinking about how do our core values support an inclusive and diverse culture, There is a reason and a purpose, what we call the hidden elements behind every piece of that agenda. And they're there to help support people from all different kinds of backgrounds, right? And I always think of it specifically because I've had this conversation many times with members who are neurodivergent. They join BNI because of the structure and the accountability. And when they come to the BNI meeting, they know they can expect I'm going to be speaking for my weekly presentation for 45 seconds. So I can prepare for that and I know that it's coming. When you don't give people those expectations or that structure, it can really affect not only their um, experience in BNI, but it can cause a great personal strain to them as well. So it is important to use the tools and the agenda because that's why they're there.
I love, and we have had extensive conversations, and if anybody goes back to any of the BNI or DEI talks, we've had talked a lot about specifically folks who are on the spectrum, and neurodivergence. And we do have folks on the spectrum in our chapters. And I mean, I've never thought about it from that perspective. If we miss something on that 20-point agenda that they're expecting, there are tools that they have to learn to use how to cope, right, as they get
Mhm.
older. And how much do we throw them off? And how many people are in the chapter that actually would be thrown off by that? So
Mhm.
some people pay specifically. I just talked to a woman that we're putting in a core group, and she's like, I came here, I was in another very loose group because of the structure. I can't do it without
Mhm.
structure. And the other thing that you said I really love, it is the president. Yes, people usually want a dynamic speaker, somebody who can go like off the cuff, and those things are important. I would say even further to say like emotional intelligence, being able to read the room, to
Yes.
know, yes, we were going to do something, but we have to pivot, right?
Mhm.
There's a heckler, the roof is leaking or the technology's down, but how can we pivot without freaking out, anything else, or, seeming frustrated, but also how are they operating in a way where they're aware of everybody in the room?
Mhm.
Are they speaking about, in the chapter that I was in, there was a lot of Ivy League grads, not just college graduates, but Ivy League grads, right? And so a lot of times one person actually said, it was a tradesperson, was like, I feel like I'm a dummy. But that was, some of it we have, it was their own perception. And so the president was so great with the feedback and started making sure to incorporate saying other things and not kind of like, oh, when I was in Princeton or when I was in whatever,
Mhm.
really wanted to make sure that people felt safe and comfortable, whether they were a visitor or an existing member. And so again, it's not about being overly sensitive. When people say this to us, like, oh, we have to soften everything, but it is about, I'm going to shut off and not listen. I'm going to stop listening. I'm going to figure out how I can not renew my
Mhm.
membership because I don't really feel like this is for me. I won't say anything, but I will dip out.
Yeah.
And I think that is critical. So thank you for saying that. That was really important.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
something you just said I want to point out, which is a core value, is the ability to pivot is traditions plus innovation. If you really think about it, right? Because there are going to be those times where you do have to pivot within the structure, and that is okay. That is traditions plus innovation.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. So any of our guests that just came on, and certainly if you have a question, there is a Q&A box, so feel free to put in and feel free to jump in the conversation in the chat box. Okay, so there is a core value. We own it. It's ours. Givers gain. If I give to the members of my chapter, they will in turn give back to me. So how can we apply that principle, that core philosophy to support colleagues from diverse backgrounds and experiences?
Yeah, so number one, of course, we're going through the BNI core values as we have this discussion, but I would challenge all of you who are listening, if you don't have a set of core values for your business, you need to, because that's really the driving force for every single decision that you make, right? So just putting that out there, we are focusing on the BNI core values today, but think about too how your own core values can help contribute to diversity. Givers gain specifically in how it can support colleagues from diverse backgrounds. One of the biggest reasons that people join BNI is so that they can have a resource for their clients. And when I say resource for their clients, I mean if I have a client who has a need, oh, I know Claudia can help them with that need. I have a relationship with Claudia. I know I can trust Claudia. So I just became 10 times more valuable to my clients, right? And so, how do we apply Giver's Gain to support colleagues from diverse backgrounds? Is giving without expectation, which is Giver's Gain, is I don't care where you came from. I don't care what your beliefs are. What we have in common is Giver's Gain, right?
Yeah.
Everybody speaks, no matter what language. They all speak the language of referrals and they all speak the language of Giver's Gain. And I'm here to support you no matter where you've been or where you've come from.
I I love this too. As you know, I was in the UK. Same
Hmm.
time we were both in Europe, and we were like not
Crossing plane paths.
we were not together. We will be together in Australia, and we were together in Madrid. But in that time, I was at their conference, and the way you're right, it transcends beyond culture or where
Hmm.
you're from or who you are or what you look like or what profession, because people were just like, how can I help you?
Yes.
How can I contribute to you? And they just felt safe. They just felt so happy about being able to contribute, being able to provide something. And then I was like, I don't know how I'm going to fit all these one-to-ones, but I'm going to do this. When I get back, I'm
Mhm.
going to set up all these Zoom one-to-ones with these people. If they reach out and they were like, hungry for something, I was like, I don't care whatever they give me. I don't know it wasn't even like I'm going to think about this, and it didn't matter because they had something that they wanted. There was something that they wanted and they didn't know how to get it, or they wanted to expand on it more or just share. And I was like, I got you. So even
Yeah.
the giver's gain could be my ear and
Yes.
listen and giving feedback and consulting someone on directions they want to take as a member for their business. So that was like so powerful, and it did not matter. I'm telling you, the one-to-ones I've done, since that time in the last month have been all over the gamut with
Yes.
people from all over the United Kingdom and Ireland. And it was just amazing. It was just, and that's the spirit. Whenever I get down, I go to a meeting because people are always contributing or finding ways to like give back, or you can observe it from a distance. So I really love that. And that's the thing. And I said this in my talk to them, I joked and spoke in English. It doesn't matter if you're a Liverpool fan or a Manchester United fan. I had to speak in a way that they could understand. You could
Yeah.
still do business. You could still want to contribute to someone. They said that thing really resonated.
Yeah.
Right. This thing doesn't matter. So I love that you shared that too. And that's why it really is our true and first core value, right?
Yeah. And
Now, oh, go
I
ahead.
can't pinpoint exactly what it is that you just said that made me think of this. But when I was in Romania and I was at the national conference, we sat with a woman who was a visitor. So she wasn't a BNI member yet. We kept telling her. But as we continued to have that conversation with her, she started sharing, I'm going through a horrible divorce. And just getting up today and coming to this conference took all the energy that I had. But now that I'm here, I know I'm here for a reason. And that's the
Mm,
giver's gain that you talk about that transcends cultures. Because again, we don't speak the same, we both don't speak Romanian, but she speaks enough English that we can have a conversation. That is so powerful. It's like I can't get out of my bed because I have all these issues having that are coming, but for whatever reason I felt like I needed to be here and now I'm glad I was.
I love that. That is so powerful. And I love it. And you have to be in a certain way. You have to be
Hmm.
open and welcoming to make that happen.
Yeah.
And going deeper, speaking of the attitude that you should have, how does maintaining a positive attitude help us embrace diversity and turn differences into strengths?
So positive attitude is my favorite core value, so I could talk about this all day long. I mean, I really do believe very strongly that it doesn't matter what situation you are facing, how that situation unfolds can really be determined by the attitude that you bring into it. Now, in diversity specifically, unfortunately, there is a lot of resistance, I guess I will say, to diversity, which can be seen as just a negative shut off attitude to the idea of diversity. So when you think about how does maintaining a positive attitude help us embrace diversity, it means you're going to see a lot of beautiful things happen in your chapter because your chapter doesn't just look like one person or one culture or one socioeconomic status, or like Claudia was saying, where everybody is from an Ivy League school. You're going to have a ton of different people with a ton of different backgrounds who all bring different necessary skills to help the team work better. So going into the diversity with a positive attitude of, yes, let's do this, it's going to help turn your differences into strengths because at that point you're more focused on the strengths than you are the differences in all actuality.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, because it will soften someone's, to your point too, because now it's like an attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, we were embracing diversity truly 5 years ago, and now it's not a good thing. And who knows where we'll be in 6 months, 2 years, 4 years. It just fluctuates, right? There's this like a
Mm-hmm.
cycle of things. And so the one thing is that if we can be positive towards people, to let them know, like, I'm gonna get to know you.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm really actually interested in getting to know you. And
Yes.
I'm gonna do it with my whole heart, and I'm not gonna do it begrudgingly. And that way, I'm actually interested in collaborating with you, working with you, and hopefully being able to create referral opportunities for you.
Yeah,
There's nothing
absolutely.
more than that. And I think but you start with, because I've seen people, with the turn of closing off the circle during open networking, not smiling at someone when someone comes up to you. And I tell you that could kill the entire culture of BNI for somebody, if that's their experience. So it is so important to make sure, both for anybody coming in as a first timer, as a visitor, and then also the members as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is my favorite. They're all my favorite, but relationships. And I even have an award for this. I love building relationships, right? And I think, I'll ask this question about intentionally building relationships with people whose perspectives differ from our own. Like, how are we able to do that? And
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of thoughts on this, like just from my experience growing up. So I want to ask you, we can have this conversation about this, but seriously, and again, in your market, because you do have some diversity in different pockets for sure. How can you be intentional? Like, what do you do? Because Anna, I know you are very intentional about making sure that people are building relationships across differences. So how do you do that?
It's truly in the smallest things. I can remember when I was studying for my undergrad, and one of my professors, we were talking about people who are in wheelchairs and talking about when you're speaking to somebody who's in a wheelchair, it's actually very aggressive or can come off as you are considering yourself higher than them if you are standing over them while speaking to them. So, a better way to do it is to actually get down on their level, which is also a child psychology thing. When you're having a conversation with a child, don't tower over them, get on their level,
Mhm.
right? And so,
Yes.
how do you intentionally build relationships? Get on their level of people who maybe have a different perspective or a different experience than you do. And it looks different for everybody, right? In
Mhm.
some cases, we had a chapter who had a member who was deaf. And so they had to make certain accommodations to help that person be successful because that person can be successful. Anybody can be in BNI, but in some cases, we may have to change something that we're doing to help make the environment more conducive to building relationships.
I love that. We've done with folks who are different abilities for sure on here. Somebody who's been deaf. Again, we talk to people who are on the spectrum. My mom, and if anybody's listened to one of the podcasts that I've been on with Ivan, specifically, we talked about folks with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's been interesting because my mother is legally blind. And so She was super, I mean, she's still very active. She is in her 70s and she doesn't look it. She moves, she's very agile, a lot of excitement. She's still running parts of her business, even though she doesn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's right now in New Orleans. So if anybody that has folks that are blind in their families or communities, there's a massive blind conference right now, conference for the blind in New Orleans. And so she's there right now. And she's like, it's so awesome. There's so many new innovative things, but she's using a cane and she can only see a certain part. And so the chapter has had to accommodate her over time, making the
Mm-hmm.
lights brighter. The
Yeah.
lights were too dim, moving things off the floor. So it's so important to think about that. And I always, right, if someone, a champion of and a fan of inclusion, making sure that everybody, the spaces for everybody as much as possible. I'm very mindful, but now even more hyper aware because of seeing what my mother has to go through, right? We just got back
Yes.
from Europe, all of those things and seeing that. And she doesn't like to be infantized, right? Like to your
Mm-hmm.
point. She's like,
Yes.
why are they talking to you? I'm not deaf. They're not even looking at me. And I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit from age, a little bit like she's old, like they're just like, oh, is she okay? And I'm like, she just ask her. She's more than competent to
Yes.
talk to you. So I think that not making assumptions about people's limitations and just, but then also the balance of, like you said, meeting them where they're at has been very helpful. And I
Yes.
think that that is, and I really try not to stereotype. It's natural to happen, but I really try not to stereotype. I really try not to do that and pigeonhole somebody into a type or particular class, and try to look at them from a different perspective. And that probably was more so trades folks when I first started 22 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
because my parents were different types of professionals. So I just was like, oh, tradespeople are this way. They might not be interested in talking to me, or they may not get what I'm talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. So I love, that you shared that as well.
Yeah.
So I think this is another one of your favorites. I think you didn't,
Lifelong learning.
yeah, you are a teacher and a learner. And so inside the spirit of our core value of lifelong learning, how can we create opportunities to continuously learn about those different cultures, backgrounds, experiences within our groups?
So, in some cases, not all, during the feature presentation of a chapter, members may be encouraged to keep it focused entirely on business, right? I've even heard members say, like, don't tell me about your family, don't tell me your kids. I want to know about your business and I want to know how to refer to you. So that's actually in some cases an opportunity missed for diversity because when members take that time at the very beginning of their feature presentation to talk about their background, what their family looks like, their culture, etc., then that gives you more opportunities for learning, right? In the
Hmm.
context of education, when I was a teacher, my first class out of my undergrad of 10 students, 8 of them represented different cultures, 8 different cultures within the same classroom. And there were challenges because of that, fighting, etc. So what did we do is we did a whole entire week learning about those different countries. The kids got to try foods from those different countries, right? And so you have to learn how to incorporate those different cultures, those different backgrounds, not just in the meeting agenda, and in this case, the example of a feature presentation, but when you do events, when you have those outside of your meeting events, give people the opportunity to showcase those things. Have
Hmm.
have opportunity for when you have members who are hosting events for their business that you go and support them because you may learn a lot about their culture, their background. So make
Hmm.
more room for those opportunities.
Yes. So I think I've seen a chapter do like a potluck from their
Yes.
background, like they'd have like a social somewhere or like a breakfast, and then they would do something like that. So I think that that's really cool. And you're right about that because sometimes there is the balance again of not having, 8 minutes of your background and then 2 minutes about
Yes.
your business. Please don't do that. So you can
Mm-hmm.
have a slide or two to talk about this, my spouse, my partner, my cat, whatever. I'm actually from blah, blah, blah. I like to ride bikes, so it gets people to know who you are. I mean, and even, I have pictures of me playing golf or,
Mm-hmm.
there's a picture of me dancing Bollywood. So then after, I remember the first time I shared about dancing Bollywood, because I didn't know how the people in my chapter would react. Like, and then I started putting on social media. Like more than half my chapter came to my shows. Like that
Hmm.
was so cool because they wanted it. They're like, this was the best thing ever. And they're still going to the shows, even though I've
Yeah.
moved and I'm not part of the company anymore. Because they were like, this is awesome. Like
Hmm.
that was so cool. It was great to see you up there. And it was just a way that they can express, or somebody, if somebody's really into a lot of the guys, when someone's like, I really mountain bike a lot, and then like a bunch of the people from the chapter almost hurt themselves and they fell off the
Exactly.
bikes and cut themselves. But it was great because we got to know those things. And again, but me playing golf or dancing Bollywood may not be assumed based on how I look or
Yeah.
who I am. And so the some of the things they got to say, wow, I didn't know we could do that. That could be a cool one-to-one thing that we do.
Yes.
Or, wow, I'd love to learn more about this. I didn't know you were Panamanian. I'd
Yes.
love to learn more about that. So to your point, that is a miss. And I think also when we're doing the gains and everything else, talking about some of those interests that are specific to your culture or your background it's always, I mean, people always ask tons and tons of questions about my
Hmm.
background once they find out what it is.
Yeah,
So
and I'm
yeah,
glad you said that because when you're going to do a one-to-one, don't miss reading the person's gains and bio before you go to that one-to-one
yeah,
because
because
then that will happen. Yeah.
you'll find out all kinds of cool stuff of like what they
Hmm.
belong. You're like, oh, you're in a pickleball league? That's cool.
Yes.
But those types of things, but in specifically, you can learn more. Some people will say, I do X, and this is because my family's culture is this, and then it's very interesting. So I think that that's super, super cool.
Yeah.
So you touched on traditions and innovations before, but how can we honor our traditions while also embracing innovation that comes from diverse viewpoints? And this is so critical for right now. So go ahead.
So there's this quote, and I really hope I don't botch this because I'm doing this from memory, but it's like the four most dangerous words in the English language is we've always done it this way, or five most dangerous words. We've always done it this way.
Mm,
Traditions are very important, right? That's why the core value is traditions plus innovation. We do honor our traditions because they're important. However, just like in your industry, we have to always be innovating, or eventually we're going to be irrelevant. Like we're not going to matter to the industry, right? That's why if you're a
mhm,
residential real estate agent, you have to do those CEUs every year to keep you at the top of your game in your industry. So how do we honor our traditions while also embracing innovation is remembering that traditions are good and we need innovation to make us better. And the only way to do that is if we don't live the mentality of we've always done it this way. I'm comfortable. I'm not going to change because then you're missing out of all this world that could make
mm.
you so much better because somebody
So
has a different perspective than you.
yes, you would, and you shut it down.
Hmm.
If I was doing everything that we used to do, I would be making calls on a rotary phone.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I'm not interested in that. So
Yeah.
I will tell you, yeah, it's nice to be innovative. You can still the it still stands true, right? I'm still making a phone call, but I just do it differently.
Yeah.
And I think that that is the thing is like, okay, I get it. It's not that we don't have to, but can we use modern technology or
Yeah.
modern ways or something else, different perspective to still get the same result? What is the
Yes.
intention of what you're doing? Why did we have that tradition? Oh, that makes sense because we didn't have this technology or these resources available or this other viewpoint in, and now this is the way we do things. So
Yeah.
holding on to it must be this way is a surefire way to ensure that it goes out of existence.
Yeah,
Um,
and you'll
yeah.
see it in culture in chapters. You'll see the two different cultures kind of fighting each other. Because
Hmm.
there's definitely chapters like that where you have members who have been in BNI for a really long time. They understand BNI, they really like the traditions. But then you have new people coming in with fresh perspective, fresh ideas, and the
Hmm.
two cultures can kind of start to argue. And that's
Yeah.
where I challenge traditions plus innovation. You need those new and fresh ideas because that's what's going to keep it fun.
Yeah, fun, and there just may be something that you don't know.
Yes.
That could be limiting the growth moving
Yes.
forward.
Yes.
So, that's why we have leadership team terms,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't keep people in the same role all the time. It's actually time to, that's why what I think is great about our CEO, our former CEO into our new CEO, he saw like he's young and alive and capable and saw that the things needed something different needs to come into play now. I've done what I
Mm-hmm.
need to, and you have to. I mean, and Ivan started with Ivan. And so if you don't do that, if you don't step back and you don't allow for someone else's vision of what it is so that to get whatever intention fulfilled, then it's gonna stay small and even implode. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
really what I've seen. Now, recognition. And I think we all like recognition. We
Mm-hmm.
just don't, some people really need recognition. They really need
Yes.
it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're not bad people for that. And a lot of times you do a lot of hard work. I'm definitely an Enneagram 2. I'm a giver. I love seeing people accept what I'm offering. And when someone recognizes me, especially when I don't expect it, sure, Anna has seen my tears. Most people have. I will just cry. Like I'm just like, oh my goodness, like I didn't even expect this. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
do things for the accolades necessarily.
Yeah.
And there's that recognition, right? And there's something about recognizing all the people. So how can we ensure that our recognition practices celebrate diverse contributions and achievements? And this is kind of like this applies to a lot of things, but I want
Yes.
to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah. Number one is to know your people because not everybody likes to be recognized the same way. Some people love public recognition, they thrive on it. And other people, maybe, yes, they like the recognition, but they would prefer it one on one rather than in a group dynamic, right? They're just not comfortable with that. So you have to know your people and how they like to be recognized, number one. And then I'll
Mhm.
use the power of one as an example. Lots of chapters do highlight people who are in the green or people who are 100 points, which is great. Also recognize your power of one jumpers, right? And your power of
Mhm.
one jumpers are like, hey, Claudia, month over month in the power of one report, last month you only had an average of 0.5 one-to-ones per week or whatever it is. And then it jumped up to 5 this month. Like, great work, Claudia, on your one-to-ones.
Mhm.
And so there's
Yeah,
ways to recognize people on an individualized basis, but you have to know how they want to be recognized. Do you want me to share?
exactly.
Do you want me to share the
Yeah,
PowerPoint?
I I got it again. Look at this.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. This is Mercury's in retrograde. She's in a mood.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yes. So I would agree. And I like that you talked about the different styles of recognition, right? You can give me a cookie and I'm like, okay, thank you. And
Yeah.
I'm still to be fair, I'm just appreciative of the words, right?
The
Or
thought.
the
Yeah.
acknowledgement, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the fact that you're acknowledging there was something done that really helped, and when I never know that it's coming, I'm like, wow. And then some people are like, no, I need the award, I need the this, I need that.
Yeah.
And to just okay, all right, no, got it. All right. I'm gonna give you money. Like, I don't care about money. I want you to put my name in lights. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
and so, in our group chat, and a lot of times I'm recognized. Some people are like, oh, I don't want it. And I'm like, well, too bad. You're gonna get it.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
okay. You're getting it anyway. And then some people are like, you're gonna recognize me, right? And I love that though. I love that because some people we are all it's sort of isolated, or you're doing something and it just shows like, hey, I see you. I see you. And I think in this case, the diverse ways and contributions to this goes back to favoritism. This
Yeah.
goes back, this is when you talked about picking the right president, the right leader. If you have a leader, if you are a manager or a leader or of any kind, and you have a team that is working with you, you cannot have favorites, right? You cannot,
Mm-hmm.
or you can't say it out loud. You can't perceive that way. And you
Correct.
can't constantly, even if Anna is always the one that is amazing, I can't always say, Anna, good job, Anna, good job,
Yeah.
Anna, good job. And so if I see somebody's efforts, they may not be hitting the goal or the mark, but
Mm-hmm.
if they are contributing, if they're trying their best, it is equally, if not more important, to recognize that person. So I may, and also for the activities that you are trying to have them do. But I think it is
Yes.
important, and I think this is where we lose people, is because even selecting leadership sometimes, if it's really in the hands of most of the leaders, even selecting someone is a way to recognize them.
Yes.
Want
Yes.
you to lead our this is an honor. Like we see
Hmm.
you as leading this and carrying on the legacy for the next term. If
Yes.
you don't pick new people just because they're new in their business, just because they don't golf with you or any of those things, they're going to leave. If you're
Hmm.
worried about how come we're losing members, like it's not the cost, it's not the time, it is that
Yeah.
they don't feel appreciated, they feel undervalued, and they don't feel like this is the same product that everyone else is getting. So
Yes.
I think that that is, I think that that is so critical. That's why I really love recognizing others and making sure that they are really seen for their efforts. So
Yeah, and that's a new culture that we're developing here, specifically in Oregon and Southwest Washington, is if your current president invites you to be president, that's an honor. That's not a burden of, oh my gosh, I don't know about this. I don't know. Like you should be honored because that person believes that you can carry the chapter forward in a positive
yeah.
way. And it is, you're absolutely right. It is a form of recognition because we don't just put anybody in the front of the room.
Oh yeah. If
Hmm.
a chapter, especially if a chapter of 20, 30, even if your chapter is small,
Yeah.
you're the leader. Like we're expecting you because we expect growth and success for the people in that group, and we're putting you in there.
Yes.
Not a default thing. So it is a way to recognize people. So when you're asking people, say like truly, and the fact that they will get visibility from this will
Hmm.
lead to the full VCP. So
Yes.
yeah, so this is really an important one, everybody, again, for those who are watching, make sure
Yeah.
that you recognize everyone. So what does accountability, this is what I also know you for, accountability. And this is the thing that I think is what sets us apart from our competitors.
Yeah.
So what does accountability specifically look like when it comes to creating a more inclusive environment?
Now, sometimes people think that accountability and inclusivity means that you are making concessions for certain people based on whatever it is. And in no way should that be how it is. And here is why I say that is when people buy a BNI membership, they are buying the accountability. Exactly what Claudia just said. They're buying that structure and that accountability. And if you don't give that to them, they're going to leave because they're like, this is not what I signed up for. I signed up for BNI because I knew it was different from other organizations because of this structure. So let me use the attendance policy because that's the easiest example, right? You're not going to treat any member differently on the attendance policy because they have a disability or whatever it is. But what you are going to do, what is non negotiable, is you may have to change how you support that member to be successful within the context of the policy. So if a member comes to you and they say, for example, they say, I have a autoimmune disease. And so there are some days where I wake up and I can't, right? I can't even get out of bed. So, number one, absences are not a bad thing. That's why we have three in a rolling 6 month period. Just don't abuse them, right? Make sure people know and understand that. But you're going to need to help support that member maybe in developing a substitute list, an emergency substitute list of people that they know that they can count on when they wake up sick and they can't get out of bed. I know who I can call who will be there to sub for me. So you're not going to skimp on this is the attendance policy, but you may have to pour more of your energy into supporting that member, and that is how it should be.
I, you just reminded me when I was an area director in Boston, there was a woman that was pregnant
Mm-hmm.
and she had a high risk pregnancy. And at the time, so we were trying to figure out, and this is something again, because you all want to hold on to somebody or give all the exceptions to Anna's point.
Yeah.
If they can't make 16 meetings, first of all, it costs them money.
Mm-hmm.
Their membership is winding down. So even if you give them an M, which is only supposed to be a max of 8 weeks, not 16. So when someone said to me, okay, I know I'm going to get knee surgery, I'm going to be out 6 weeks, done, right?
Yes.
I had a baby, I'm going to be that, I'll be back this time. Great. No problem. Totally
Mm-hmm.
understand. But when it is a high risk and they're saying you need bed rest, but you're stressed that you're going to get kicked out of the chapter, I had to have the conversation. I'm like, I love you. You are
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And of course, if you submit a request to membership committee, they will grant you the medical. However, the fact that you don't know beyond 8 weeks, we want to just leave. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
Your seat will not be held,
Yeah.
like how much is your credibility going to be diminished if you're not here? You can
Mm-hmm.
send subs during the time of medical, but if you're not sure, and it could potentially end up being 16 weeks, which it was,
Mm-hmm.
and she came right back to BNI. She came right back to BNI a year later. We were launching a new chapter, and she was like, "This is okay. This is actually a different, industry and a different seat. Like it was perfect. It was a perfect thing." But that right there was fantastic because she was like, I had this, it was actually adding to her stress of
Mm-hmm.
making the meetings. And so
Yeah.
you have to hold people accountable, but also like, it's okay. Give them this is not life or death. This is
Yeah.
BNI. If they don't need more time, save their time. They paid for their
Yes.
membership. Don't let them run out their membership. Then they come back and then they have to renew. And half the people don't even know them.
Yeah.
We've added new people since that they don't even know them. That's not a responsible thing. So I think if you would agree, I don't know if you agree with me, but that to me is also holding people accountable.
No, I
Is
absolutely agree because you have to do what's in the best interest in of the member. And is it really in their best interest to just let them take perpetual medical leave so their membership is absolving? They are literally losing money. Whereas
Mhm.
you can offer them a credit and say, let's preserve your membership. You'll have a certificate of credit and you can come back when the time is better. I
Right.
completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I saw the stress and she's like, okay, can I make a request for like, three medicals? I was like, oh my goodness, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no. Don't, how about you just don't, it's okay.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so that really, just thinking about those things. We're not here to add stress or make people feel uncomfortable. But really, and again, even if somebody's getting a divorce, I would even say too with the attendance thing, which I was, and then the childcare situation changes, and they're very stressed. If there's
Mm-hmm.
a way you can offer, you're not a therapist, but you can certainly offer solutions about that sub list. I love that you said
Mm-hmm.
that. Ways to show that you want them to win. Don't
Yes.
make like membership is coming to talk to me because I'm bad.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we help you strive and win? Let's come up with a plan together and they will appreciate it. Or also giving them the space to say, I'm going to step back from now. And if my seat's
Exactly.
here and when I'm ready, clearly I have some things to work out. So yeah,
Yes, exactly. Yep.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's really, really great. Well, um,
Oh,
don't
that's
know.
it.
Yeah. 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 We don't have any questions in the chat, but I want to thank Anna so, 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 so much. I love always, you and I can get into these conversations forever. And I think this is going to make a real difference for people watching this as well, to see maybe now thinking a little differently, and
Hmm.
maybe hopefully saving some more members and making some members excited to stay and also to help you grow your chapters. Because if they're excited about the chapter, they're going to be inviting and talking to everybody in their network. So that is our
Exactly.
goal. I just want to say thank you so much, Anna. Next month we're back again. And so every second Wednesday of the month at 3 p.m. is when we're on these calls. And so that is really our goal, is to make sure that you have everything that you need to be successful. And so if you want to, you can share with a friend, either come on so we're live, but then we also upload them in our BNI USA YouTube page. So if you have any other questions or suggestions, or maybe want to be a future guest on, let us know. And we will definitely have you back with us here. So next month, we will see you at the second Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. But for now, thank you. Thank you, Anna. And everyone,
Thank you.
have a great day.
Have a good day.
Thank you.